Hello. Today we are going to discuss about Romanticism and French Revolution. French Revolution is a historical event, which was initiated in 1789. It was majorly a political movement which took place in France, as the name suggests. So, so the idea is that, though it is a political and largely a social movement, it had a large impact on literature, art, and, other forms of expression. So, it is essential that we learn about French Revolution when we are discussing regarding the Romantic movement in Britain. French Revolution is, it's a very important event in the world history. At the period of French Revolution is considered from 1789 to 1799. So this period is considered to be the period of French Revolution. So various events took place here. But before we get into the events of French Revolution, let's quickly try to understand what led to the revolution itself. So at one side, what used to happen was that so there was economic hardship, like so the things were not good for the commoners, and to an extent of food scarcity. So and the government was in debt, and French government, that was monarchy by then, so they had invested a lot of money in American Revolution. So, the country was in debt. In order to recover the debt, the taxation was high on people, and the taxation resulted in a lot of economic difficulties for a large number of people. However, the nobility of that particular time, they were enjoying all kinds of luxuries. So this was the problem of the time, and so that was, in fact, so one particular event, though we really don't know if it happened, but a popular story about French Revolution is, so the Queen Mary Antoinette. I mean, it is told that the story is not true, but people believe that the story is true. Mary Antoinette, like when people ask, right, so we do not have bread, right? So that is, we do not have food to eat. So Mary Antoinette, allegedly told that if you don't have bread, eat cake. Like so I mean, so though the story might not be true, this, gives us an idea of how oblivious the nobility of the time were regarding the difficulties of everyday life. So economic hardships had posed difficulties to the general public. So that is at one side. At another side, there was social inequality. So during the monarchical rule of France, so the society was divided into three. One is clergy, nobility, and commoners. Yeah? So these are the three classes of people who were present. Clergy were bishops, and so the order of Catholic Church, or other factions of religion. So that was the you know that was the major most powerful uh, section of the society. By the way, monarchy is considered to be part of this, even though uh, I mean, even though they are not purely religious people, monarchy is considered to be part of clergy because, in many places, including France, king or queen was, supposed to be installed with the power given by the church. So these were the first set of people. The second class of people were nobility, the courtiers, and the landowners, and feudal lords. So these were nobility and the commoners who, majorly working class people. So, and there was no social mobility. Social mobility is a commoner could not be part of nobility, and commoner could not be part of clergy. So this was the situation by then. So there was clear social inequality just because you're born in a particular family, so how they are being treated is entirely different. So this is the second reason why French Revolution took place. And the third reason why French Revolution took place was the philosophical ideas which emerged during the period of time. So rationality and enlightenment, this period of time is considered as enlightenment, a period where reason and some social values were given emphasis over others. So social values are individual rights and equality, rethinking of traditional authority. So these are some of the major philosophical ideas which were questioned by philosophers of the time. So we'll go through that once we discuss few events, then we'll discuss two major thinkers of the time as well. So, so the outbreak of French Revolution was on 1789. So when Louis XVI was the king by then commoners felt that so their voice is not heard in the court of France, and they revolted against the King Louis XVI, and so a lot of things happened, and they were dethroned, and they were guillotined. Guillotine is so a guillotine is a machine where which is designed to decapitate somebody's head, and so they decapitated King Louis XVI and Mary Antoinette, and so that is that took place. Um, and instead of monarchical rule, so there was different experiments which were done, right? So I mean, they did not directly go into democracy. So there was a short period of time when Robespierre, took the reign of France, and so Napoleon Bonaparte, he was also another leader who took charge of France. But over a period of time, they were able to settle for democracy. So that process is not important for us anyway. So what did it do? So that is one important thing which we have to discuss. So first thing which happened was the separation of church and state. So as long as there was monarchical rule, church and state are, so they go hand in hand, and so they are very, I mean, so they benefit from each other. So one helps the other, yep, and so on. So this happens, and so the moment so there is a separation between church and the state, like so religion should not interfere in the matters of state, and state would not interfere in the religion. So that separation, when it is done in England, it was already done by the time of French Revolution, long before French Revolution, in fact. So that was done, and declaration of rights of citizens was also done. Uh, then so there are historical impacts which I would not like to discuss, but mostly cultural impact is what I would like to discuss. So then another thing which came out of French Revolution is, so it popularized the idea of democratic ideals. So there were few instances of democracy which was present during that time, but French Revolution really kick-started the movement of influencing other states to adopt democracy. So that is one thing, and not just a democracy as a government, but also democratic ideals. democratic ideals is that equality and the concept of human rights and some of the basic requirements which are supposed to be delivered to the citizens of a state. So these are the democratic ideals which the post the movement of French Revolution influenced. Then it influenced art, literature, philosophy, and so on. So uh, let's start with philosophy. Like the philosophy. If we are talking about philosophy, we should go before French Revolution. So there were two major, in fact, three major, statesmen and three major philosophers who influenced the ideals of French Revolution. So that is Montesquieu, Rousseau, and Voltaire. So today I would be focusing majorly on Rousseau and Voltaire because Montesquieu was little earlier to French Revolution. So the French Revolution, the entire slogan of French Revolution was liberty, equality, and fraternity. So liberty, equality, fraternity. So this was the slogan of French Revolution. In order for the slogan to arise, so there was lot of background work which was done, philosophical work which was done for people to come to this particular understanding. So that is something which is very unique about French Revolution. That is something which is very significant about French Revolution. So, Rousseau, he's a great thinker of France, and many of our the current ideas on libertarian society comes from Rousseau. So he wrote a particular book called Social Contract, and you can read that book. One of so the book is available in my library. So the Social Contract is a very interesting book. So one of the statements of the book goes like this: man is born free and everywhere he is in chains. Yeah. So I repeat the sentence: man is born free and everywhere he is in chains. So such a magnificent idea it is, like so when this particular statement, man is born free everywhere he is in, but everywhere he is in chains, uh, speaks a lot about the social construct. So the composition of the society and how it restricts the liberty of people, right? So that is why, so that is why, like uh, he is considered as a one of the finest thinkers. So despite, him with J.S. Mill and John Locke, so they are considered as the people who kick-started the idea of human rights. So so Rousseau came up with, he emphasized on liberty, the concept of liberty. And, there was another concept which he proposed was general will. So that is, a society is functioning well, or a state or a country is, functioning well when the general will is catered to. So that is, general will is that, so the voice of people. So that, uh, government should cater to what is required by the majority of the public rather than the minority. So what is the meaning of majority minority here? So majority minority doesn't mean opinions of the people, but uh, the wellness of the people. Like, so let us say that, so the large number of people are encountering starvation. So that is something which a government should cater to rather than, like, investing on weaponries. So just giving an example. Uh, so that is what, he proposed. Then there is Voltaire, right? Walter wrote, he is a writer, who wrote essays as well as plays. He is not just a philosopher, but also a literary writer as well. He came up with he emphasized on the ideas of freedom and justice. So when Rousseau, focused on liberty, so Voltaire focused on freedom and justice. And so these ideals, which led to French Revolution, uh, which took itself with the slogan of liberty, equality, and justice. So during the phase of French Revolution, so the we call it as Enlightenment ideals. Enlightenment ideals as ideals which were shaped by these philosophers. Uh, so major ideals of the time were rationality, progress, and egalitarian society. So rationality is, it is like, it's a, so questioning the things, like, instead of accepting situations as they are. So trying to understand why they are, and, making an effort to change them. So rationality is always about asking questions, like, why should we agree to something, right? So just because somebody says it, just because some book says it, and, just because some leader says it, need not be true. Like, so whether, can we experience it? So that is a question. So a rationality was developed during this point of time. Progress, then, the aim of a state is to progress. So, aim of a state is not to maintain an order. Aim of a state is not to, so the term is status quo. Status quo is things as they are, right? So there has to be a positive change, right? So there, if it is things as they are, like, so there would be no benefit. So there has to be positive changes which are expected. So progress is another. Then egalitarian society. Egalitarian society is where people are treated equally. So egalitarian society is equal society. So the focus was on creating an egalitarian society. So these were the major ideals of French Revolution, and so French Revolution, took place politically. Meanwhile, it also influenced intellectual, capacity of human beings, and, so Enlightenment, French Revolution, Romanticism, they all go hand in hand. Right. So, so let us discuss. So, every concept which we will discuss in this particular section, we need to understand that, there are two phases of it. That is, like, it is important to learn about French Revolution by itself, and also about how French Revolution influenced Romantic movement. So, both of these concepts are very important. So, let me try to explain how French Revolution led to Romanticism. Of course, French Revolution is not the only cause of Romanticism. Romanticism had lot of influences, including reading of other cultures like, Indian. So, a reaction to, but what happened was, like, French Revolution had a significant impact on Romanticism, no doubt. So, during the, so what happened was, like, say French Revolution, as we have discussed, there was enlightenment. So though enlightenment was good for society, though enlightenment was arguably, the best policy which was adopted for that particular time. So the emphasis of enlightenment was majorly on reason, logic, and scientific thinking, which are significant, no doubt, which are, majestic, no doubt. Uh, but romantics gave an alternate way of thinking. So romantics argued that, enlightenment has some limitation, right? So enlightenments only focus on reason and logic. But what about emotions? What about individualism? What about things which are experienced, uh, you know, which can be, experienced by a person? So, Enlightenment, Romanticism started as a movement to, as a it did not actually become a counter. So So Romanticism and Enlightenment are not opposites, you know. So in fact, there are many qualities of Enlightenment which was adopted to Romanticism. We'll come to that. But we can say that, Enlightenment led to Romanticism, right? Romanticism, the free thinking of Romanticism was largely influenced by Enlightenment. To an extent, it acted as a counter, right? Instead of reason, logic, and scientific thought, emotions and individualism took place in Romanticism. However, the concept of individualism to arise, right? So enlightenment should, must have happened only because people emphasize on liberty, freedom, and justice, right? People could speak about individualism and individual nature, right? So that is how we can understand that, enlightenment led to Romanticism. Then, uh, you know so there was emphasis on emotions and individualism. So during the French Revolution, lot of things happened, lot of events happened, and that had a significant impact on people's emotions, right? So suddenly people's emotions became very important. Like, so there was a lot of death, there was a lot of bloodshed, and so different, different new experiences uh, were encountered by the people. So, and when people encountered these things, of course, emotions became very important to them, and so they resonated with it, and that is how Romanticism was celebrated during that period of time. Then, if you read Romanticism is focused on common man, right? So the first concept which we are discussing in this section is, reaction to Enlightenment, how Romanticism was influenced by Enlightenment. Second is emphasis on emotions and individualism. So it is not about how society should be, it is more about how I feel, right? So that is the second part. And the third part is about celebration of common man. So Romanticism is all about celebration of common man. It is not about the kings. It's not about divine. It's not about any of this. It's a celebration of a normal person, a child, a man who is just passing by Westminster Bridge, a man who is contemplating a waterfall. So Romanticism, which it deals with common man, right? Where does the focus on common man come from? It is because of the rationalities which influenced French Revolution, right? So because of that, the focus was on common man, right? And that helped Romanticism anyway. So this is how French Revolution impacted Romanticism. I mean, let me just just say a couple of things over here. So, uh, Enlightenment, not just on Romanticism, it influenced on many various forms of thought which was present during the time. In fact, to an extent, it influenced industrialization and so other, when it comes to painting, there are a lot of paintings. So there are paintings on French Revolution itself. It's an entire genre by itself. Paintings on French Revolution. So uh, and it led to not just art, like poetry, art, and theater. So different art forms took inspiration from French Revolution. So and so now the next part is, French Revolution led to industrialization, which is not exactly true, because French Revolution did not do anything for industrialization. But the ideals of French Revolution, that is rationality, that is enlightenment, fueled the phase of French Revolution. That is actually true. And Romanticism to an extent is a reaction to industrialization. Of course, that's an entirely different topic which we will be discussing. So, however, there are a couple of things which I would like to add as one. So, romanticism, one of the features of romanticism is looking at as an individual. So, what one of the conventions which was present during the time was, looking things as a society, looking things as an ideal, whatever. But romanticism took a different stance. Romanticism started looking at an individual level. Take example of poison tree, right? So poetry is not about how society is corrupted. Poetry is not about how society, people are, vile, wicked, and all that. It is about individual, how an individual feels, right? So the solution for the things are not somewhere else. The solution for things are right here. The experiences of the individual. So the personal feelings, the individualism is how we deal with things, not as a larger society. So another thing about romanticism is, so enlightenment led to look at things from the eyes of science and rationalism, whatever. So whenever we start learning things, with the science, it gives us an objective understanding of the things. It gives us a true understanding of things, no doubt about it, However, romantic poets said that, where they differed is when it comes to nature, right? So, enlightenment focused on understanding nature through science, but romantics focused on looking at nature as a uh, thing of beauty, a thing of spiritual renewal, and as the leaders of romanticism state, it's a teacher and a guide, right? So for them, nature became something which was much more revered than what enlightenment let it to be. So enlightenment looked at as a, as an what do you say, like, in an objective way. Okay, this is how things work, which is true. That is how things work. But romantics, they took inspiration from the nature. They celebrated the beauty of nature and emphasized the imagination and creative force which could be driven through nature. So this was very important for the time. So, uh, so Romanticism to an extent was a critique of rationalism, no doubt. That is, you can look at it in both ways as well. So rational, I mean, Enlightenment criticized both existing order, whether it is religion, whether it is governance, whether it is whatever you call it, but the convention which was present, right? So the convention which was present you know was highly criticized, and so a alternative idea was proposed that we have to go back to nature, right? Take example of chimney sweeper. Chimney sweeper criticizes both church and the progress. Progress here is industrialization. So the progress, is an ideal of French Revolution again. So both church and progress, it criticizes, right? So that is what you see in chimney sweeper. So this is how Romanticism critiqued rationality of enlightenment, though not directly, but by the creative force. They gave an alternative idea, alternative way to look at things. Then, finally, like, style wise, why, uh, how enlightenment focused, influenced the style of romanticism is, if we look at. So, before romanticism, so things were very rigid, like meters and all these things were already present. Even enlightenment to a large extent was focusing on the structures and formal literary style. So you don't find many novels in Enlightenment movement. You don't find many poetry in Enlightenment movement, but there are lots and lots of essays, right? So it's a, I mean, it is very contrasting. So even when there are writings which are present, so the writings are in the sonnet forms, writings are in particular, structured, existing structural form. But Romanticism came up with new ways of expression, which are not so formal, which are not so structured. So free verse was free verse became very important. So you just have to have couple of rhymes here and there. The length of the say, line wouldn't matter that much and all that. So and that is how enlightenment has had a effect on the style of poetry. So these are the major relationship uh, you find between romanticism as well as French Revolution. So they are very intertwined. They are not opposed to one another. They are not supportive of one another. So they are just like intertwined. That is like so there are things which has a positive impact. There are things which where both of the things differ. Both the ideas differ and all that. But definitely one influenced the. I mean of course Revolution and Enlightenment influenced Romanticism, no doubt about it. And that is how it is, and that is how we can understand the relationship of these two ideas.